Good morning, Bengals fans, and welcome to week 6 of the Morning Prowl. Do not adjust your screens. You're not seeing two of me. This is my brother, Mitch, and he is joining us as Whitney is partying in New Orleans. So, Mitch, you ready to do this?
Yes, I'm excited. Glad to be here.
Let's get this thing going.
We definitely have some of the greatest fans, and it doesn't go unrecognized.
No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I run it. 9 out of 10, roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turn to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. Thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number 1 up on that court, I'm nigga great. The first one in, the last one out, can't call me lazy. Put in my hours, send the invoice and they pay me. I need 6 rings like MJ and Tom Brady.
My mom, by the way.
Oh, hi, Mom.
And
I
looked
in my mind, I'm like, yeah, baby, let's go, let's go.
Oh, man, think
No
about
sleep,
here.
no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch. Time to run it all. I wake up, flex, thumbs down, now check. No drip, this time to run it all. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch. Time to run it all.
All right, so no pressure here, Mitch. Whitney is down in New Orleans. Hopefully she's doing okay this morning, not too much of a hangover. We got some big shoes to fill here, but we have a special guest. He's going to make this thing extremely easy on you this morning. So without further ado, Bengals, one of the Bengals all-time greats at the kicking position. He's second all-time in scoring for the Bengals, second all-time in PAT, second all-time in field goals, and first all-time in career field goal percentage at 86.76. 2005 Pro Bowler, Shayne Graham.
Appreciate
Shayne, how we
you
doing
guys
today?
having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining us here.
I gotta know, how far apart are you guys?
I'm about 6.5 years older than Tyler.
Okay.
Yes.
So we get mistaken for twins quite a bit. So
I mean, I was wondering if it was like 6 minutes apart.
Yeah.
No.
One of the first times we got mistaken for twins was we went to London for the Bengals Redskins game, and as we were leaving, checking out of the hotel Monday morning, the receptionist at the front desk said we look like the Weasley twins from the Harry Potter books and movies. So yeah.
it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we've both been we've had our season tickets together for what is it, 10, 12 years now? I mean, you've been a little bit longer than I have. I think you and Brett did it for a while, and then Brett moved up.
Yeah, one of my friends first got him in 2009, and then I took over in 2014. And yeah. Yep.
Nice.
So he was wishing to come in here with a little bit of a better standings in the AFC North. Obviously, last week we lost to the Ravens on Sunday night, thanks to Justin Tucker, unfortunately, who is about as good as they come at the kicking position. Yeah. So this seems like a perfect episode to bring in Shayne, because Shayne has a lot of experience at the kicking position, obviously, but also clutch kicks. And I was searching through YouTube this morning, and I found this clip from the 1992 state semifinal game with post-game commentary by Shayne. So Shayne, just a little trip down memory lane right here.
I just keep it like I do every time.
I think we lost Shayne here.
Well,
You still with us, Shayne?
I don't have any.
We can hear you.
I found that video clip this morning, and I was like, I gotta get that on the show here.
Oh man. I was 5'2". I was 14. I think I turned 15. I'm sorry. Wait. I don't remember. I know my birthday was like a couple days after that, before we played in the state championship, and it was. I mean, I was 5'2", about 115 pounds, and puberty had not even been a thought at that point. It was nowhere near. I still had to wait a couple years for that.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry, Shayne. I saw that. We got a little bit of echo here. Let's see here. Try maybe that. Okay, Shayne, I think you got a little bit of a kickback here on your mic.
I don't know what to do about that.
About now? Oh crap. We'll try to work around this a little bit. But yeah, sorry, Shayne. I found that clip this morning. I was looking for a clip, just something a little bit to get you get something from your career on here. And I saw 1992 state semifinals, and I don't think I could have found a better clip for to get you started on here.
Yeah, well, you've outdone yourself. I was not expecting to see that this morning. I can promise you that.
Oh shoot. Shayne, I'm gonna try kicking you out here. Do you want to try to coming back in? I'm not sure if that'll do anything or not, but yeah, just the echo right now. All right, so some technical difficulties. Hang in there with us, guys. I apologize. Maybe not. Crap. Looks like we lost our video feed as well.
I mean, I see myself on the screen.
Do you? All right. We'll work around this as best we can. And I apologize, guys, for the echo here, and we'll do our best. All right, this is going to be difficult. So like I said in the intro, Shayne's a 15-year pro in the NFL, 7 years with Cincy. And another interesting stat here that I found last night while I was going through some notes. Shayne had 16 50-yard field goals. Can't talk this morning. 16 50-plus yard field goals with the Bengals over his 7-year careers. He was 7 for 16 in there. Evan McPherson in a season and a quarter already has 14 in 21 games, with 12 of those being made. I think the offense was a little bit more efficient back in 2005 when we had Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson, TJ Hushmanzada, Rudy Johnson, guys like that. We're struggling a little bit right now. I think we'll get it going though. But as far as that, Shayne, do you think the kicking game has evolved a little bit more to where, field goal kickers are getting stronger legs, and we're seeing more and more 60-plus yard field goals from guys week in and week out. And back when, I don't want to say back when he was playing because it's not that long ago, but it seems like kickers are advancing more and more every year to where 54 used to be most guys end range. And now we got a league full of guys that can kick from 60 plus, easily.
And the thing is first off, I think you said I had 16 or 18 or whatever. I don't know. Were those attempts?
Yeah, those were. Sorry.
Oh.
That you was 7 for 16.
Okay.
With Cincy, just with Cincy.
I was gonna say, so Evan kicked more last year than I had my whole career in Cincinnati. so that's a feat. But here's the thing, and this is what used to happen. I was at a point in my career where I had not gained the mental confidence on kicking long field goals. Physically, I knew I could kick them that far. It was a matter of just fighting that urge in your mind to try harder. And that's a very big battle that you have to fight. And I think that that's part of the thing that I do when I actually train and teach young guys, is trying to really hone in on keeping one tempo and one mindset, that every kick is the same and you don't need to kick the ball any harder when you go back to a longer distance, because your leg is strong enough to do it. And when you start trying to speed up your leg swing or speed up something or try harder, the timing of your body moving forward on the ground, the timing of your leg, your hip, your body positioning, all that stuff comes out of whack. And it's not that kickers are just stronger. Kickers are stronger and better than they were when I played. And it's been a generational thing. You look at every 10 years, you take a sample of every 10 years of the NFL, all the way back to when every kicker was a straight-on kicker with a square-toe shoe, to Pete Gogolak, the first soccer-style kicker, to his brother, to all the kickers that started coming from Europe and South America and were soccer players who brought this weird soccer side swing, thing that no one had ever seen before. But you saw it go from 50% was acceptable to upper 60s, to 70s, to 80s. And then, now we're looking at guys that, you look at the top 10, the guys who, once you kick your 100th field goal, you qualify for the all-time accuracy ranking. And I remember at one point when I kicked my 100th field goal, I think it put me at number 2 at all time. And then I think I got really close to being number 1. I was the number 1 most accurate active kicker at one point. But then, I think what happened is we teach the generation behind us. And when I say generation, I don't mean like full family generation. I just mean the group of guys that are coming up as we are at our end. And we teach it, and then they learn it, and then it exponentially grows, and then they teach it, and then the people below them learn it, and they exponentially grow. So you just see this talent getting better. And now you're starting to see more kids take interest in kicking. So it's not just the 150-pound soccer player. You're getting guys that, whether they played soccer or not, are just bigger, better athletes as well. And it's like trying to compare an NBA player from today's day to an NBA player from the 90s. Yeah, we all know Michael Jordan's the greatest. But when you try to compare him to someone, you look at all sports in general. Everyone just gets bigger, faster, and stronger. Nutrition, science, training techniques, all these things that are happening. It's a similar comparison, but you're looking at back then kicking a 53, 54-yard field goal on 4th down was kind of the standard. You knew, like, okay, a 55-yarder, we might do that at the end of the half. We might try a 60-yarder if we really need it. And then all of a sudden, you're watching games now, and teams are kicking 59-yarders on 4th down. And it's just like, well, Evan's kicking a 59-yarder on 4th down. Well, he'll make it, you don't even question it. And if he misses it, it's like, holy cow, what happened? What happened? Because you just expect him to make everything. That's how good he is. And, you have guys like Tucker who, he obsesses over his skill, obsesses over his knowledge. And when he trains it, it's not just kicking to kick a ball and kicking to make a kick. It's a very precise, like he said, nuts and bolts procedure that, you keep your routine, you keep your process. And when you work through that, it just builds confidence that comes through knowing that you've prepared well enough or as well as you could. And you try to find something new each time to try to make yourself a little bit better. And you get the result of someone who is physically and mentally talented after that.
Right on. Hey, Shayne, I see Bengals and Bruce say if you log out completely and then come back in, it might help here. And then also, do you have YouTube pulled up on your screen as well?
Who, me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I do not, no.
Okay. Let's try. Can you back out completely from StreamYard and then come back in? And I hope this solves the issue.
Yeah. Do you think it could be like echoing off the table or the setup I'm at, something like that, or?
Maybe. I don't think so because it started off. You started off fine, and then once your screen went black, that's kind of when we had the echo issues. Okay. So hopefully we can get Shayne back in here in a little bit. Once again, I apologize for the echoes here, guys. That's the way the show goes sometimes. So let's go through some comments. I like Eric's comment here. It was the 90s. All of us like Shayne. We'll get Shayne back in here. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. There we go.
Right.
Thank God. But Shayne, we just going over some comments here, and Eric dropped in. It was the 90s. All of us like Shayne lean on the fact that most of our lives didn't find their way on YouTube. Hey, I will say, for only being a freshman in high school, and I mean, obviously media exposure at that age is probably very limited. You handled yourself like a 15-year pro that you was at the end, or at the end of your NFL career.
It's funny. That was actually I had been interviewed on TV before, but it was not based on any merit. It was based on I went to elementary school in a town called Dublin, Virginia, and it was St. Patrick's Day. So like the local news station came to our school and asked us questions about what St. Patrick's Day meant or whatever. And I guess they thought the redheaded kid who looked like a Lucky Charm leprechaun would be the right guy to ask questions to. And I've always been a little bit of I don't want to say a know-it-all, but like if I know something, I'm going to let people know that I know it type thing. And, so I rattled off some random fact that no one really needed to know, but they found out. And so that was my first ever, and this was like in the 4th grade, I think. So that was my first ever interview. And then I think that one ended up being the first sports interview. And I just remember feeling, it was really cold that day. If you couldn't tell by that video, it was insanely cold. But I remember my face warming up and my back tingling because of just the nerves of that, being on camera. Mm-hmm. And I was an extremely shy kid. Most people may not realize that when they know me as an adult, but I was deathfully, painfully shy. So having that, that was less I was insecure because I'm on a team with half grown men and then a few, midway pubescent guys. And then there's me, and I looked like somebody's little kid who snuck into the locker room,
Eric said Tyler's going to find that St. Patrick's clip now too.
Oh, well, that's from the 80s. I don't know if they're archiving those anymore.
So did you beat out an upperclassman for that kicking job that year?
So yeah, okay. The story that happened with how I even won that job was my dad had went up to the high school, and they had never had a soccer style kicker at our high school before. So my dad goes up to the high school and talks to the head coach, Coach Joel Hicks, and he said, "Hey, my son's considering coming out for football for your team. I know you've never had a soccer style kicker. Would you take a look at him and tell us where you think he might fit in?" So I come up the next time. Head coach sees me. He's like, "Yeah, we'll be out in a little bit. But go ahead and get going, whatever." So I start kicking. I'm kicking a few balls. The head coach walks out on the field kind of, 15 minutes behind us. And he walks up to us and he says, "Well, you're not going to play freshman football. You're not going to play JV football. You're going to push our senior for the job." And so as the year started, I was not the starter. And through a certain time of the year, the guy that we had as our kicker was a good kicker, but just, unfortunately he missed a couple kicks, and I think he missed one in a big rivalry game that was hard for us to get back from. And he opened up a competition where we alternated. And then we were a very good team, so we scored a lot of points. We alternated PATs, we alternated field goals, whatever it may be. And the first one to miss was out. It was kind of like the gong show, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, literally, I won the job the second to last game of the regular season. That was the game that I got the job during the game. So I started for the first time the last regular season game of the year, playing against a school named Cave Spring High School in Roanoke, Virginia. They had two guys on their team that were pretty good, Tiki Barber and Rondé Barber.
Oh, wow.
And we won that game 17-0. I kicked a 32-yarder on the last play of halftime, and our last play of the first half. And we ended up winning that game. Also, I think Tiki and Rondé totaled 34 yards of total rushing yards together because they were both in the same backfield.
Okay.
But and then we went on. We won a state championship, and it was the first time my high school had ever won one. I think possibly the only time. We lost in the state championship the year after that, and we were like 9th in the nation in USA Today. But my coach was I was very fortunate to have a coach that appreciated the kicking position. I kicked a ton of field goals in high school, gave me a lot of exposure for scholarship offers and things like that. So I was very fortunate.
Right on. And then Mitch, I got to show this comment, but Cincy James said, "Let's see that jersey you got on."
It's Dave Lapham. And Tyler, you should recognize that because you got this for me for Christmas one year. But yeah, it's a Dave Lapham. It's customized from Cook's Sporting Goods.
I don't think I'll ever be able to top that Christmas gift. Oh shoot! So I was looking through stats last night, and I was actually surprised by this. Your longest field goal that you've had in your career, Shayne, was a 54-yarder, and it came your last season in the NFL. Now we've seen reports that Evans hit from 75, but what's the longest field goal you've ever hit? Practice?
75 was the longest I ever hit as well. But that's on a day where there's just, my ears are flapping from the wind, multiple attempts, a nice, good worked in ball, all that kind of stuff. I watched Evan. In fact, I've got footage of it. Evan kicked twice during our season at Florida together. On Thursday, we extend the field goal period, and the head coach would back him up a few times. Twice, he just kept, most of the time he made all these kicks, right? And we'd stop at about 58 yards on, normally we'd stop at 58 yards because coach had other things he wanted to get to. So a couple times he's saying, okay, this 58-yarder is like hitting the camera tower behind the goalpost. So let's back it up again. So he backs up to 68, and this is live team scrimmage field goal. And he busts a 68-yarder with a few yards to spare in team performance, like not like off to the side, like on his own with multiple attempts. This is like a live scrimmage rep, and he busts it right down the middle. And then I think 3 or 4 weeks later, the coach was kind of feeling it again and was like, backs him up again. Same thing.
Good God.
Right.
I can't imagine. I used to practice in me and Mitch's parents' backyard all the time. Both of us are cross-country runners. I played football in 7th grade. First touchdown on Fort Laramie High School's football field. I'm not going to hold that over them or anything. But, you know, in high school I ran cross-country, but I always loved kicking field goals over our shed. So it was probably about a 20, 25-yarder in the back.
Yeah.
I wish I had videos of this. So the kicking game has always been fun for me. And I came up with the idea late last night. I was going to go kick some field goals, and I was going to have you rate my swing. Unfortunately, I didn't get time to do that last night, so we might have to do this another time.
I mean, I do virtual lessons for $90, so you just let me know.
I'll start a GoFundMe to get this thing going. Hey, I had some good attempts. They not high, but they got over the shed, and they would have been good in my book. So
yeah,
I always talked to my cross country coach, and I was like, hey, I really want to kick field goals on Friday night. We can run cross country on Saturday morning. What do you think about this idea? And he said, Tyler, shut up. We'll just go run. And unfortunately never happened, but it is what it is.
You know what the biggest secret to kicking is?
What's that?
You have to know how many footballs fit through the uprights.
How many is that?
Do you know?
I don't.
It doesn't matter. Just pick one.
We got a question here from Eric. It says, what is the intangible that allows Evan or any kicker to kick it so far? Clearly it's not a more muscle equals more distance type scenario.
With Evan, it's two things, and it's the same for Justin Tucker. It's explosiveness that has the perfect timing of body mechanics that creates great ball contact. It's like golf. You've seen people swing really hard. They don't have great ball contact. The ball goes all over the place. When you have good ball contact, it's the most efficient transfer of energy from your body to the ball. And Evan has that. I mean, every time he hits the ball, it's a solid hit. There's good rotation. It's just, and he's very proficient at hitting great solid strikes a very high percentage of the time, if not all the time. You know, we're humans, so we're not always going to be perfect, but his ball striking is what makes him so phenomenal. And Justin Tucker's the same way. That's why those guys are able to generate so much force, is because they have an explosive swing that comes from the quick twitch muscles that they have, the explosion, the way that their body puts those movements together just creates an efficient movement that, even though most of us, even myself included, when I could hit my best ball, my swing was more of a fluid, concentrated on ball, solid ball contact, but fluidity and efficiency. I didn't have the explosion that those guys have. But yet there's also guys that have that same explosion that those guys have that don't create the same consistency of ball striking or accuracy that they have. So they're just like the perfect storm of putting together the perfect tempo, explosiveness, and solid ball striking.
Right on. Well, keep that in mind when I put my kicking reel together for you.
Oh, there you go. I'll let you know if you're a power, a fluid, or explosive guy.
or just or just a really, really, really passionate fan about the kicking game.
Yeah.
We got a question from Greg here. Shayne, besides Chad, was there anybody else on the team that you can remember that could kick really well?
There's always that guy that has a little bit of a background in soccer at some point in their life that can put their foot on the ball. Chad could get his foot on the ball. If he practiced it more and if he were trained more, he could actually be pretty good, in my opinion. If I could have given Chad some elite winning solutions services, I could have probably made him a lot better than what he was. But no one stands out. We used to have this thing that we called celebrity kicker on Fridays, on Friday the end of Friday practice, and it was just a fun thing that Marvin did. And we'd have a sign-up sheet on the board in the locker room, and everybody tried to sign up for it because they all thought they could do it. And coach would pick one guy, and one guy got to do it. And so Brad St. Louis would snap it and immediately drop down to his chest so he didn't get kicked in the back of the head or his back of his butt. And then, our holder would hold it for him. And the linemen would all dive down onto their stomachs as well. And then I would be the asshole that would get and rush the kick. So I jumped up one time and the ball flew right past me. It would have hit me right in the chest. But you had linemen, oh coach, I can kick it, and you had every skill player that thought they could do it. And I mean, I'm telling you, sometimes those balls came this far from hitting people in the back of their heads and their butts. It was entertaining. Chad actually missed a few over the years when he got the opportunity, but he made a few as well. Mm-hmm. And it was a fun thing that we did, but no one really stood out as oh wow, you could probably do this in a game, but besides Chad.
Yeah, I think you made it to training camp this year, but I was there one day, and I think I saw Logan Wilson lining up, and I was like, okay, this ought to be good. And he kept draining. I think he got back to 50 yards, if I remember correctly.
Really?
I got the video on my phone. I'll have to send it to you after this, but he had a pretty good leg on him, and I was there with another guy, and we kind of just looked at each other, and he's like, holy shit, he's fairly decent.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'd have to go back and stopwatch it, but as far as the snap to hold to kick time, probably wasn't the best. But
yeah. But if you don't practice it normally, I mean, honestly, no one outside of that starting three. If you change anyone out of that starting three with a non-starting player, by me saying that is long snapper, holder, kicker. If you put a non-kicker, a non-holder, or a non-snapper in there, your time is going to go down because everyone also realizes there's a little bit of a confidence issue with trusting someone. We all kind of saw what happened when Clark went down. There's going to be something about that timing that's off. And, especially a kicker, because a non-kicker who comes in there and does that is not going to understand exactly when to start and what's their mental cue or visual cue and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm glad you touched on that a little bit, because we saw it last week with one of Evan's kicks. The snap was a little high from Cal Adamitis, and then, we see the ball go over the top of the goalpost. As a kicker, when you see that ball, when you see that snap go a little bit high, how much does that mess with you, or are you just head down to the turf and I'm following through with my game plan, my mental game plan?
Ultimately, we focus on what I teach to guys, and there's some kickers who like to watch the snap come out of the center's hands, and then they follow it the whole time. I'm not a fan of that, because then you do see that high snap or the wobbly snap or whatever, and it gives you too many variables of distraction along the way. I tell kickers that I train to look at the holder's finger on the ground, like whatever they have down on the ground when they're holding their hand up to catch it, like watch his finger and leave when he picks it up to catch the ball. And then you focus on that so that when the ball is eventually put down on it, you're always on that pathway to the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while you're focused on that spot, you're still going to, in your peripheral, see that variation in the standard catch to hold thing. So as many times as I'd like to say I'm not paying attention to it, we see it, we notice it, and it's just like, is it that one little fraction of apprehension that causes you to not swing through at the same speed or whatever? I don't know. It can make a difference sometimes. I've seen it more times than not make a difference.
Okay.
Just like I've seen laces a few times not make a difference, but it still can make a difference. And especially if you miss the spot with laces off of a high snap, like the one that happened, in overtime a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a high snap. He brought it down. It wasn't quite on the same spot that Evan was expecting the ball to be on. And then the laces, Kevin just didn't have time to do all that in that period of time. So it was very unfortunate, but you can overcome those things, but more times than not, most kickers usually overcome them.
Right on. And we got a comment here from Matt Schultz, who said, "So getting the finger is good then."
Yes.
Oh shoot! So we're going on 37 minutes here. Shayne, I think your biggest post NFL career thing you got going on right now is your Elite Winning Solutions group that you have going on. It was founded here in 2022. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys do there and kind of what you got going on with that?
Yeah, so I got into coaching immediately after playing. And everyone thought, oh, you're a kicking coach. Well, no, I was a special teams coach and was actually working my way up pretty quickly to getting, the goals of, I wanted to be an NFL coordinator, like Darren Simmons. And Darren was actually a very big mentor of mine during that coaching, my coaching career. He was a very big mentor in that process. But over time, I just realized, it just wasn't healthy for one, my personal health. I gained a bunch of weight. I didn't have the time I needed to work out and eat healthy and all that. And then, my wife, it was just like, we just never saw each other. I left the house before the sun came up and I came home after the sun came down. And it was just, it was crazy hours, and people don't realize that. So I decided, how can I still be involved in football and coaching, but not have to break my back, with all these hours? So I created this company, and I've actually got a few partnerships that are coming up, nationwide brands and an international brand as well, that I can't necessarily speak too much on right now. But one of them is with Sports Illustrated, one of them, and the other one is with another kicking group out there called One-on-One Kicking that has a national network with even some overseas network stuff that they're bringing me in as one of their lead consultants for place kicking. Nice. But what I ended up doing is, so I help teams. I have teams that bring me in and help them with everything from their special teams phases to their specialists. I went to IMG a few weeks back down in Florida, which is like one of the top high school programs in the country. I've gone to several, local places and some other places around. I'm going to San Antonio actually next week to do some stuff there. there's some colleges. I didn't really work with the colleges because I have to iron out some of the NCAA compliance issues.
Okay.
So I have to be a little careful about what I can and can't do when I do that. And I always make sure I go through compliance offices so that no one's getting in trouble for anything. And then there's some pro leagues that I've kind of individually done some consulting. But the one thing that like I've really enjoyed a lot out of it is just the private lessons. And I think that's just a given with my background as a kicker that, you know, I have a lot of kickers that I work with and they come into town, whether they fly here or whatever. They stay in the house. I train them on the field. I film them with a bunch of, high resolution, slow motion capture, high frame, slow motion capture cameras. We come back, we study it in the office. And then I've got a full gym that I built in the house that we do very kicker, punter, snapper, whatever, position specific training. And I kind of give them a lot of the tools. And then the whole time they're here with me, it's just conversation. And it's conversation about getting to know what their mentality is and then trying to basically implant with them the things that I learned over my time. The mental processes, the mental performance, the mistakes that I made, the things I did right, the things I prepared for that I never saw, but I saw other guys go through and they told me about it. So all of those things, which ties into when I worked with Evan, that was a lot of what we did. I never told Evan to do this, do that with your kicking. He had that part. It was all about what could I implant in him that I went through or saw people go through, and how can I make sure that he doesn't make the same mistakes that I made, or that he can, learn from the successes that I had as well. And that was where I think we built our bond with each other. And, it's been really cool to see him flourish. And I think he'll be up there by the end of his career. He's going to be one of those guys that's considered an Adam Vinatieri, Justin Tucker model.
Right. Good deal. So I guess we can, like I said, we're running at 42 minutes here. We got some games to talk about, so let's jump into our picks for the day. All right, so we got 5 games to pick here. Currently, Whitney and I are tied at 11-8 on the standings. Mitch, you will be representing Whitney today.
No pressure.
So don't screw it up. And currently our guests are 9-9 on the year so far. So first game, the most important game of the day, Bengals at Saints. All-time series is tied at 7-7. We haven't played the Saints since 2018. We're not going to talk about that score. We lost the game. We'll just move on from that. So with that being said, Saints are a little bit banged up today, missing Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Lattimore. They got a laundry list of guys that are out today. We're also facing Andy Dalton, who we currently have not beat yet. He has faced us 2 straight seasons. So he's going for the hat trick today. Mitch, what are your thoughts on today's game?
So the Bengals are better the game 2-3, coming off a loss on a last-second field goal. And last year at Week 5, they were 3-2, coming off a loss on a last-second field goal. And the following week, they went up to Detroit and then a get-right game with a lot of Bengals fans in attendance. And I don't know if anyone's been following Twitter the past 24 or 36 hours, but there are a lot of Bengals fans in New Orleans this weekend. So I think this is a get-right game. It's the Bayou Bengals, not LSU, Cincinnati. And it's going to be 34-16 Bengals. Who day over who dat. And we get back to 500.
I like that. Shayne, what's your thoughts?
So Does this always bring about the who did it first thing?
I've surprisingly not seen that on Twitter yet. I mean, Bengals fans have been going back with it. Seems like every fan base this year, but I have not seen anything with the Saints. So hopefully, we just have our pleasantries and we just enjoy each other's company.
Right.
So I played for the Saints, and I heard their version of who's first, and so that argument, I just won't touch that. But I'd like to say this is one of those games that doesn't have to come down to the wire, and I think it would be a good time to have one of those, because those games can be not only physically exhausting but mentally exhausting for the players, the coaching staff, everybody. So I'm going to do what Lee Corso does.
I like this. I like it. There we go.
There we go.
So I'm going to say 27-18, and it's 27 because we kicked 2 field goals, not missed a PAT.
All righty. I like it.
I'm glad you said 2 field goals and not 9. I mean, I like watching Evan McPherson kick, but 9 field goals would drive me nuts.
I mean, you didn't enjoy Shayne's 7 field goal game against the Ravens in what was that, 2007?
That was a good game.
I enjoyed that.
I did enjoy that game.
Oh, shoot. All right. So like Mitch said, we're a game back from where we were a season ago. Offense kind of in a similar situation. We had more explosive plays last year at this point. But it was week 6 last year where we really took off. And honestly, there's a lot of similarities between the beginning of last season and the beginning of this season. Currently, we're averaging probably about 20 points a game, which is right where we was at last season. And a stat that I looked at from last year was from week 6 to week 18. We bumped up from 22 points a game to 28 points a game. And this was the turnaround mark, was the week 6. So I'm thinking we do the same thing today. A good confidence booster. Hopefully, like Shayne said, we can just relax a little bit in the fourth quarter, get out early, and get this offense rolling. I mean, we have the star power to do it. I'm going to go 30-13 Bengals in this matchup.
Great.
So next game we got on the slate, we got Patriots at Browns. And Shayne, why don't you get us started on that one?
I know everyone's going to talk about, Bill Belichick got his coaching start with the Browns. Browns haven't been great since Bill Belichick. I am going to say, I don't, this statistical analysis and all this stuff you guys are going on, I can't keep up with that. So
that's the only game I'm going with as far as stats wise. This one I'm just picking.
Okay. So I don't know who's healthy at quarterback in New England.
Oh, yeah, I was going to check that.
I think I love the interviews that Bill Belichick gives when he's super ambiguous about injuries. And, when I was there, it was funny. He actually called me when I was out to dinner before my first game there as a Patriot. And he was like, when the sideline reporters are coming up to you in pregame warmups, I don't want you talking field goal distances with them. Like, I don't want them to be able to know, where you can kick the ball from. Let them figure that shit out, but don't tell them. We're not going to give that other team shit. That's just how we do it here. And I was like, yes, sir. So it's funny. I used to have these pretty little sideline reporters that come up and ask you questions. I'm like, nope. And this is even in my coaching career. They used to do, they would know that I was the one that worked with the specialist, during pregame warmups. So they're like, "Hey, where's Evan kicking from today?" And I'm like, "I hate to tell you this, but it's been ingrained in my head that I can't talk about that." She's like, well, why not? And I was like, because if your game is being broadcast on the TV and you guys put that green line up at the 38-yard line, I didn't say what yard line, but I said you put that green field goal line where they need to get to. Those other coaches can see that and potentially know that they can use that for their play, like when it comes to how aggressive they can be with their play calling, because that's the whole reason Belichick doesn't want them having that information. So the girl understood, but she was embarrassed because she's probably never had anyone say no to her in her life. But what?
Yeah.
I just saw that Mac Jones is unlikely to play today, so I don't know if that'll influence your decision today or not.
I'm gonna go with Cleveland. No score, just Cleveland's winning.
Yep. Yeah, I was back and forth on this one. I really want the Patriots to win, but without Mac Jones, I'm doing it again. I think I've been burned on the last couple of weeks with Cleveland, but hopefully I'll take it. If Cleveland loses, I'll take it as a win, but I am going with the Browns over the Patriots in this one.
I think it'll be a close game throughout most of the game. I think the Browns find a way not to screw it up in the fourth quarter. I'll take them 24-13.
Next game we have is Ravens at Giants. I'll start this one off. I've been back and forth on this one all week. I really want to believe that the Giants have what it takes to beat the Ravens. Ravens are still pretty good, though. I still feel like we should have won that game last week. Lamar, I'm still going back. I'm still falling back on Lamar Jackson's on a contract year, and he's out to prove everybody he deserves that bag. I'm going with the Ravens over the Giants in this one. Mitch?
I went back and forth on this one as well. To be honest, I still don't even know. So when I don't know, I go with the team. I go against the team that I want to lose. We're going Giants over the Ravens. I don't got a score, though. Ravens lose.
Oh. All right. So I can't say I've gone back and forth on this one because I've put zero thought into it. But I can tell you, like, my inclination is to say Ravens, and that's hard for me to do that because Graham Gano, the Giants kicker, is a really good friend of mine, and I'd like to see him win. But I just think the Ravens are going to be able to pull this one.
Right on. Our fourth game on the slate is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitch, why don't you get us started on this one?
This one I need to put zero thought in because there is no way in hell I'm picking the Steelers. Buccaneers win.
Bucks.
Yeah, let's make this a quick one. I'm going Bucks as well. So we got Bucks in a clean sweep. Surprisingly, this one was quicker than the Steelers Bills picks last week. I think we took more time on that for whatever reason. I think we tried to add a little bit more thought into it and try to be a little bit more gracious about it, but whatever. It's the Steelers. And then finally, probably the game of the week right here that everybody's been looking forward to. He was even talking about it on CBS last week as the game of the week for whatever reason, rather than letting week 5 games play out. But the Bills at the Chiefs. And then Shayne, why don't you get us started on that one?
I'm just going to go Bills. And one, I think they've got a good team. I really want to see that organization. It's a small market city. It's where I played as a rookie. I'd really like to see them kind of get back to that 90s almost glory that they had. Just because, Kansas City, I'm just tired of hearing about Kansas City. So I'm just going to be, a former homer and go with the Bills.
I think I'm going to go the same here. I'm going to go Bucks over the Chiefs on this one. I think they're tired of hearing about 13 seconds. I think their defense is a little bit banged up, but that offense is nothing to mess with right now. I like the Bills in this one. Get a little bit of revenge. And like you said, Shane, I'm kind of tired of hearing about the Chiefs. And yeah, I just love it. I love the Buffalo fan base too. So I really want this win for them as well.
Yeah.
Mitch?
Yeah, I think the Bills are playing. I mean, they can basically do no wrong. I mean, they were if they had one more second on the clock, they would have beat Miami. Would they be undefeated right now? Chiefs are playing well. I do think it'll be a close game. Also, my wife's family is from Buffalo, so if I want any hope, if I have any desire to be able to be allowed at Thanksgiving or Christmas in the coming months, I cannot pick the Chiefs, but I'm picking the Bills to win today.
All right.
Good deal. So we got a nice mix up there. Should see a little bit of a shake up in the standings. So we'll see what happens here.
Watch me go perfect. You're welcome, Whitney.
I'll wait here for a second, and I'm sure a text will come through from her. But Shayne, I want to thank you so much for your time here this morning. You've given us so much more than I expected. So good to see you again. Enjoy your Sunday, and like I said, thanks again for joining us here early on a Sunday morning, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. I had fun, and who knows, maybe we'll do it again. Who day?
Sounds good. Who day, man?
Who day. Thanks, Shane.
All right. Well, we got a couple more segments to get through here. I know we are going on an hour. Last week, we introduced a new segment called Fan On The Prowl. We had a couple submissions last week, two to be exact. So I'm not going to put too much thought into this. Both submissions were phenomenal. I honestly couldn't pick between the two. So we're going with a dual Fans on the Prowl this week. Our first submission is from Cincy James. He's out front of his house playing ball with his son, and you'll even hear his daughter during the slow-mo portion of this video. So I hope you enjoy this laugh. But here's our first Fan on the Prowl, Cincy James and his boy.
Yeah.
I love that slow-mo scream. I think I've laughed at it every time I've watched this video. And it was taking me forever because I had to screen record that off Twitter. So I think I listened to it about 10 or 20 times last night trying to get this thing downloaded. So that still gets me. But also our second submission is from CJ Mack in the box and her son Zeke. This video is actually from the Dolphins Thursday night game. But to see a young fan this excited over Bengals football is extremely exciting. I know going to a Bengals game at an early age, it really brings you into a fandom with a team. And I know it was Mitch's birthday present in 2000 that was my first Bengals game against the Arizona Cardinals. I wasn't dressed properly. I couldn't feel my toes by the end of the game. It was so cold. But seeing seeing parents take their kids to Bengals games is always awesome, and to see Zeke here enjoying the experience is really cool. So. I bet he slept well that night.
I will say that was a considerably better atmosphere than I had for my first game. My first game was in 1992, Vikings at Bengals in Riverfront. And for all of you that remember Riverfront, there was only one big screen, and it was up in the red seats, and it blocked some of the blocked the view of some of the seats in the red some of those seats, and we sat behind that. And by the end of the game, as the Vikings were up 42-7, we were able to walk down to the blue seats right behind the sideline. So,
what was the final score of that game?
42-7.
God, memory.
And I stayed a fan, so
If you survive the 90s, I don't think there's any way you're leaving the team at this point.
Right.
Oh, shoot. Good times. But also our other segment, Matt's Game Day Cocktail. Hey, we got to get this in here, so let's roll this graphic real quick.
Yep, tastes like winning.
All right, so Matt came at us from a different location this week, not from his basement in the pink robe. So, Matt, what do you got going on
Hey
for us
everyone,
this week?
welcome to Game Day Cocktails. I'm your host, Matt, aka Bengals of Bourbon, and this week might look a little different. I don't have any drink this week because I decided to come to the Cincinnati Zoo to channel some inner fierceness that I feel like this Bengals fan base is losing, that we're 2-3. And you know what? It's not that big of a deal, because another team that was 2-3 at this time, the Kansas City Chiefs. You might be like, Matt, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs. But guess what? We beat them twice last year. So everybody enjoy your drinks this week, and let's get a dubbing down in New Orleans. Who dey?
Well said, Matt. Well said. And that is hard to believe last year that the Chiefs were sitting at 2-3. And I remember I wrote the Chiefs off last year at this point. So I don't know what your thoughts were on them last year, Mitch.
Yeah, I thought the Chiefs were sitting at 2-3 last year, and I remember earlier in the year thinking that they were suffering from the Super Bowl hangover, and that they were coming back off the run they had been on the past few years before that, and they bounced back and ended up hosting the AFC Championship game. One thing I was going to add, another team that was 2-3 at this point last year was the 49ers. And we were very close to having a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, and they both started 2-3. So the season is by no means over. There's a long way to go, and there's nothing. I'm not writing the Bengals off yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. I didn't realize that either, but I mean, 2-3, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I would definitely love to be 5-0 right now. And we're literally 8 points away from being 5-0. We should have beat Pittsburgh. Injury happened and kind of, screwed up the kicking game a little bit. We didn't play good. Dallas, we was right there. And, Baltimore, we was right there. Like I said, it's not ideal, the situation that we're in. We're 0-2 in the division, but a long season to go. We got a nice stretch of games here. Saints, Falcons, Browns, and Panthers. These are 4 winnable games, and we can go into the bye, 6-3, set up. And I know everybody keeps saying, "Oh, the second half of the season is really, really tough." This is a tough Bengals team, and I think maybe our fan base doesn't buy into that yet a little bit. I mean, we've had teams that have come up short and not lived up to our expectations, but at the same time, this is This is a different culture. Yeah, you listen to Joe Burrow's post-game interviews and interviews throughout the week. They're not freaking out. They are calm. They still believe in themselves. We're going to find a way to win. I think, like we said earlier, we get this thing kick-started today. Against the Saints. We got a lot of Bengals fans down there in New Orleans. Hopefully we can turn that Superdome orange and black. I know Saints are struggling a little bit right now. So I think this could be a good confidence game today. Or at the very minimum, let's get a dub, get this thing going a little bit. And yeah, hopefully, I feel like I've said this a couple times this year, but hopefully just a relaxing afternoon of football. And, let's get a win today.
And one thing I'll add to that, there's a lot of talk on play calling and offense, and we need to be doing more with the weapons that we have, and that's true. I'm not going to, there's something that is to be desired there. But one thing I wanted to say is don't sleep on this defense. Like,
oh no,
this defense really is something special, and it's when they're out there playing and they're take a minute and appreciate like how good they're playing, and it's even if we don't get turnovers or whatever, like they're playing really well, and they're a reason, they're just as much a part of why this team did what they did last year, and why we're still so close this year, is that defense is just playing really well.
Yeah, and this is, we don't quite have all the turnovers, that really highlights this defense. But like you said, I mean, 0 passing touchdowns given up by this secondary so far this season, and that's not easy to do in today's NFL. And granted, we've gone against like Mitch Trubisky, and I'm not even going to throw Cooper Rush in there because he has been playing phenomenal football, and I think people are sleeping on him a little bit. But man, they're playing phenomenal football right now, and I know there's teams in the past where could have changed seasons for us if we had this defense on that roster. So defense just needs to keep doing what they're doing. I think I saw a pretty uplifting tweet from DJ Reader. I think that was yesterday. I have to see if I can find that tweet real quick, but it sounds like he's getting closer and closer to coming back. I don't know if hopefully soon after the bye week. That's what I'd really like to see. I don't really know what the timeline is, but his tweet from last night was, DJ is looking really good as of late. So
right,
would definitely love to see DJ back out in the field. Hopefully don't rush it, but even without him, I mean, he was clogging up the middle for us, the first couple weeks of the season. So that's a huge piece that we'll get back to the defense yet, in addition to the phenomenal roster that we got. So, and then, like we touched on earlier with the Chiefs, I mean, he was in a similar situation last year where they completely overhauled their offensive line like we did this year, and it took a couple weeks for it to gel.
Yeah.
What have we seen the last couple weeks? We've seen him gel. We've seen clean pockets for Joe Burrow, and now it comes down to execution, getting the ball in our playmakers' hands. We don't need to go out there. We don't need to have the deep shots. We don't need Burrow to go 7 for 7 with 7 touchdowns and 490 yards passing. Dink and dunk. I mean, 4 or 5 yard gains every 4 or 5 yard gains every play. It's going to result in first downs and wearing out that defense. And then, at the end of the game, we're just going to be able to grind it out with Joe Mixon milking the clock. So,
yep,
it is what it is.
Yes.
So, any final thoughts here today, Mitch?
No, I had a great time doing this. I'll admit I had not watched I feel bad saying this. I not watched any of the previous episodes.
Oh yeah, I forgot
And,
we forgot to
you-
bring this up here. Give me a second here.
You texted me on Tuesday and you said you're like, I might need you to co-host. I was like, okay, that sounds fun. But you said you might need, so I was like, I'll just wait and see if I'm needed or not. But I was thinking through ideas, what I was going to say, things like that. And then Friday, I was gonna text you and say, do you still need me or whatever? I get on Twitter and I see Morning Prowl tweets that I'm going to be on the show on Sunday. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I got the answer to that. So
sometimes I just have to make the decision for you.
Right.
Now, in all due fairness, you mentioned that you hadn't watched this show yet, which is fine. I'm just going to take that out of your Christmas gift this year. But you did have a good excuse. What was that, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, me and my wife were on vacation. We were on a trip for our first wedding anniversary. And 2 weeks ago, Sunday morning, we were actually in Fort Payne, Alabama, which is the home of Evan McPherson. And we went that morning. We drove to the high school and went running. And you see the pictures there. Got a picture of their high school field. And the night before, we were actually at the DeKalb County Fair, which Fort Payne is in DeKalb County. And they had these booths they put up. And that was actually the one that won. And that scarecrow, it's got I think it says McPherson Fan Club, I think, on it. And it's got the 2 painted with Bengal stripes. And so that was pretty cool. And
you said that was by the baseball team, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was by the high school baseball team made that booth. So we were there kind of later at night, and there was like no one there, and we were taking a picture next to this booth that I don't know if anyone bothered taking a picture with during the day. But like I said, it was the county fair, so it was like carnival type atmosphere as well. And we played one of the games when we threw the dart and popped the balloons. And we won this guy right here. It's a llama.
What was his name again?
We named him Llama McPherson. So Llama McPherson is now part of the tradition and watches the Bengals games with us. So
good deal. Well, hey, Mitch, thank you very much for joining me here this morning. You did awesome. We'll consider you a sub at anytime we need another co-host.
Sounds good. I'll be happy to come back anytime.
Right on. So, guys, let's get this dub today. We bounce back in the Bayou. Hoo day.
Hoo day.